One of my favorite things to do with my Cricut is to make signs. I love making door hangers and so many other things that I can give as housewarming gifts, wedding gifts, holiday gifts, and so much more. In this video, I've compiled my favorite ones for you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Are you ready to see some amazing sign projects? Let's dive in.
This is like a lengthy craft, so we've kind of done a lot of good prep for you guys, but very simple, honestly. And we kind of had some struggles cutting foam, and we'll kind of get it more into that, but we have done all the troubleshooting for you, okay? Right. We just figured it out. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. We figured it out like an hour ago, okay?
So good.
And the reason we figured out a way to do it, but I felt like it could be better, and then we figured it out right last minute. Thank you, Jesus. And I'm gonna show you guys our secrets. So if you have never cut foam, you're really gonna enjoy this. If you've never painted a wood sign, this is a great beginner project for painting. And this is what we're gonna be creating. So I'll hold it right here and then I'll put it overhead. It says bros only. Yes. You can change this to whatever your heart desires. This is made from foam. This is foam, okay? This is not wood. It's soft, it's nice. You don't have to use an adaptive tool, which not all machines have adaptive tools, but every machine can use a deep cut blade. Okay, so we're gonna be using that. The deep cut blade is at a steeper angle. So 65 degrees, Lauren's sitting back here. 65 degrees, 60 degrees, sorry. 60 is the deep point blade. We have our housing, let me just show you guys. This is what the deep point blade looks like. So it comes in a black housing if you buy it like from Cricut, but you can get deep point blades off of Amazon and put them in your fine point blade housing.
Is that not a hack of all hacks?
It truly is. It truly is. Just don't forget to switch them out after you're done. But we keep ours in the black one so we don't accidentally do that. But they are exactly the same housing. So that's pretty nice to know. And then you're just gonna need a few supplies. This is a sign from Hobby Lobby, $12.99. This is like
that's a value.
Yeah, and you can get this, that's not 50% off. So you get this sign for like $6 or $7. This is why I love wood signs. That's why I'm so into sign making, because like these are huge blanks and you can do whatever you want on them for so cheap. Yeah. So this is like an MDF sign, not something that's gonna go outside. This is gonna be cute in like a nursery or a kid's room. I'm gonna put this pink one in Ruby's room on her little gallery wall I've been putting together. But we have pre-painted this, so we're gonna be I'm gonna walk you through the entire step-by-step on how to do this checkered pattern. There are right and wrong ways to do it, okay? You can't just go in and start taping. There are different checkered techniques. Like sometimes if you tape it wrong, you're gonna get more of like a gingham, or it's just not gonna line up right. So I'm gonna give you my tips on that. You're gonna need some flat, matte, or chalk paint. It's gonna be your best bet. This is just cotton candy acrylic paint. It's got a flat finish, but it doesn't specify on here. And I'm gonna be using this chalk and mineral paint in white. This is from StarCraft. This is our favorite paint, period. This is our favorite, okay, I'll say my favorite paint, period. Listen, I'll just say this. If you get into sign making, I have made hundreds of signs and I've used all the different kinds of brands of paint from Hobby Lobby, like all of them, okay? I've tried them all. My favorite ones that I get are just flat matte. It doesn't really, the name brand doesn't matter that much to me. The fact that it's flat, matte, or chalk is gonna be your best bet when you're working with stencils or you're taping designs off or things like that, because anything that has a latex base in it is gonna stretch when you pull off the stencil or pull off the tape. And so that's why I always swear by chalk paint. Yes. And this chalk paint just has such a good coverage. But y'all, just use whatever you got. You can use latex-based paints. When I say latex-based, I mean like glossy paints or satin. I personally prefer a matte finish, and I don't like my paint to peel up when I remove my stencil and stuff. So that's why I'm saying work with chalk paint. So if you've got a flat or a matte option and you're working with stencils and tape, that's what you're gonna wanna go for. You're gonna get the cleanest design, I promise. I've done this like so many times. If I don't know anything, it's that, okay? That's one thing I can tell you guys, it's that. So good. I've got a weeding tool. We've got some painter's tape. Now your painter's tape needs to be as thick as you want your squares. So this is, I think this is 2 inch wide. Here, I've got a ruler. Let's just measure it. I'm pretty sure it's 2 inches, but just to be safe, This is actually 1.5 inches. So I like this size square, but you could do like a bigger square if you wanted to. You really want to gauge it depending on how big your sign is. This is a good standard size. And then I've got some foam. And let's just talk about this while we're here. I pre-cut some of these because I thought it was going to take us forever, but y'all, I'm going to teach you something today. I'm really excited. So these are the same brand of foam, okay? The brand is Silly Winks. You can buy it at Hobby Lobby, but for some reason, I can't explain to you guys why, they must be different thicknesses or something, because I cut this sign right here. I don't know, took me like 15 passes, okay? 15 passes, you're not hearing wrong. It took me 15 passes, which would be this one, this non-sticky backed foam. This took me 15 passes.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah, and then today, we only had black with the sticky back. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't wanna use that. Like I don't wanna use sticky back. Well, I was like, that's all I have because I wanna use black. Y'all, this cut like butter on one pass with the same cut settings. I was like, what's happening?
What is happening?
And not only that, but Lauren and Courtney spent a whole day trying to cut foam. Mary Catherine spent a whole day trying to cut it. I spent a good few hours trying to cut it, and that's what I ended up coming up with over here. But it took me forever. Y'all, I pre-cut some of the shapes out for today, and it took me like 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's because I was like moving it around on the mat and stuff. So you're gonna wanna get Silly Wink sticky back foam, okay? You can do it with the other foam. If you got the other foam, because now we have a huge stack of the other foam, I'm gonna have to find some kind of craft to use for that, maybe like flowers or something, I don't know. But the Silly Winks sticky backed is gonna be your best bet, okay? I'm also using a light grip mat, but it's a brand new light grip mat, so I would suggest using something standard grip or a new mat. So you want it to be sticky because you don't want it to be moving because it is deep, and the deep point blade is gonna be cutting into it pretty heavily. I've got a heat gun here. You can use, we usually use our Wagner, but I grabbed our Scorch Marker heat gun today. And then I've got a measuring tape. I have a brayer. I've got water, paintbrush, things you would need for painting, and that is it, okay?
So good. And Lauren, will you check my audio levels? Okay, perfect. I don't know if I did something wrong. I dropped my mic a minute ago, and I had to like pick it up, so I just want to make sure it's working well. So yeah.
Lindsay says maybe it's a different density, talking about the foam. That's very possible.
That's true.
So before we get started, I want to talk about painting this checkerboard. So we're kind of doing 2 crafts in one. We're going to have a checkerboard sign. We're going to have how to cut the foam, like 2 separate projects. So we're going to start with the backer because it needs to be really dry before we go on and start applying our decals and stuff. So let's just pull this over. Okay, now the biggest thing when we're working on signs is making sure everything is centered. So what I always say is to start from the center and work your way out. Don't start over here, don't start over here. You need to measure your sign. So let's go ahead, we're just gonna go ahead and measure our sign. And I'm not measuring with the frame, I'm gonna measure the inside of our sign here. So this is, 17.5, what a number. So,
love it.
Lauren, what's half of 17.5?
Do I need to pull out the calculator?
9.
So
8.5
would be 8 and
a quarter.
8 and 1/4.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is come over here.
8 and 3/4.
Yes, okay, yeah, because that's almost right in the middle of our sign. So you need to take a pen or a marker, pencil really would be best. I'm not gonna mark this, but you would take a marker and mark 8 3/4. Okay, that is your dead middle right here, okay? Go ahead, come up here, mark it off. All right, you're gonna do the same thing over here. You're gonna measure this side, and this one comes to 11 1/4. So half of that would be 5.5.
Yeah.
5 3/4. 5 3/4.
I'm not listening.
Okay.
You've got this, Alicia.
5 3/4. Y'all, I hate numbers. I do.
I feel like you're such a numbers part. Like, I feel like you're good at this.
No, I mean, I know what to do. I just don't like the numbers. So you're gonna mark your middle areas on every single side, okay? And I'm gonna start on my vertical pieces. So I'm gonna tape a piece of tape from the bottom, from my middle mark up to the middle. And I'm just gonna show you guys how to start this because this one has already been painted, but let's act as if it hasn't, okay? Just because I want to give you guys an idea. If this was a completely blank sign, this is what you would be doing, okay? So we're just going to line this up right here in the middle. And it takes a couple tries to get it perfectly straight. But listen, these pieces of tape are our guidelines for our square, so they will not be crispy lines if they're not laying flat and if they're not straight. So, and this tape is really good for, like, you can take it up and put it back down and it still stays sticky. So you're just gonna do that all the way across, okay? And then you're gonna come up onto the other side and you're gonna rinse and repeat. You're gonna start laying tape all the way down,
yes.
Okay? And all of these little holes are gonna be left and you're gonna paint those, okay? You're gonna start with your base color, which is white. You're gonna dry it and then you're gonna paint the pink.
So good.
And then we're gonna remove the tape. Save your tape. You can save your tape and reuse it. So now, since we painted our first layer, I'm gonna show you actually how to do it. So if you're going onto your second coat of pink, so we're going into our like second square. So all of our squares need to be living like here, okay? So what you're gonna need to do is, first of all, make sure your paint is completely dry, okay? You cannot be putting tape on top of wet paint. It's gonna peel your paint up, it's gonna look awful. And right now this is super clean. Y'all, this has been curing for like 2 weeks.
Yes.
So it's like really, really dry.
Yeah.
Hit it with the heat gun, make sure it's completely dry, rub your hand over it, make sure there's no paint hitting the light. If it's shiny still, it's probably wet unless you're using a super glossy paint. But if you're taking my advice, you're not doing that. Okay, for the second pinks, you're going to take your tape and we're gonna be taping over the already existing squares, okay? So we're just going to line this up. And we're gonna go all the way down. Cover, it should cover your,
Just look your head kind of in the.
sorry, my big old bun.
I will say sometimes setting these up, like to do this part of the project, is the hardest part.
It's the most time
Yeah, it's the
consuming.
most time consuming of the project.
Yeah.
But it's well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's nice because we already have the first layer done. So, and we just want to make sure these are lined up as close as possible, okay? There may be minor imperfections, but y'all, we are not machines. We are artists and crafters. Okay. And I'm gonna cover all of these vertical pieces first and then go in and do the horizontal pieces just to...
This reminds me a lot of probably, gosh, many years ago. I thought it would be so fun to teach how to do
basket weaving?
No, I have tried that before.
Me
with
too.
paper. But no, it was, gosh, and it's just, what is it that you would do at Christmas? The red and the white?
Decorate your Christmas tree.
No, the pattern. It's a pattern with...
Plaid?
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah.
to teach the plaid painting.
Yeah.
And it's actually like coming up with how to lay the painter's tape and then peel it ag, and like, it was more work than I thought.
It is.
Okay?
It's
so
kind
what
of a
I ended up
process.
doing, which if you ever want to paint it, don't do that. I came out with a cut vinyl where you can cut the heat transfer vinyl or the vinyl and you just put
In the
that
shape
plaid.
of like
Yeah,
plaid?
in the plaid, yeah. And it works 20 times better.
Wow, that's
without
awesome.
any hassle.
I'll
But
say
of course
these
it's not.
horizontal ones are much easier, y'all.
Yeah.
After you get the ones going up and down, it's much easier.
So good. So good.
Yes. So does anyone have questions so far about the process
Yes.
that I've been showing you?
So, any tips on keeping the tape straight since ours will be blank?
So you can measure and lay the tape and then sit your sign up and use a level. like put the level against the sign where your tape is and see if it's level or not.
Okay.
That would be for that first piece. And I think if you get your first piece level, like, you're gonna be good. If you get your first piece level here, and then what you can do, lay that tape, lay another piece of tape beside it, and then lay the third piece. That way this is giving you the perfect gap in between the pieces. You know what I'm saying? That would give you enough space. That way you know, and everything is spaced exactly even.
Perfect.
Okay, now we've got all of our tape down. I'm just gonna peel all these pieces back. Make sure everything is down really good. If you wanna take a burnishing tool or like a brayer and just kind of go over, you don't want any bubbles because we want these lines to be super crispy.
Yeah.
What you can do next, we're gonna take a very, very light layer of white and go over everything and then dry it, and then we're gonna add our pink. So this, what I'm doing here, is gonna prevent any bleeding of the pink underneath our stencil. So we want these lines to be crisp and professional. Be super careful on your frame. Don't be messy like me. Look at me already making a dang mess. So really, we just want to concentrate this white around the edges of the paint.
Yes.
Because we don't want that pink seeping under the paint. And it's not a lot, you guys. I'm just taking a little bit, very thin coat.
Listen, I was teaching on a new hack video coming up, some of my stencil techniques. I forgot how much I love stenciling yesterday. Like, I had so much fun.
I love stenciling.
Good.
It's just satisfying, you know?
It really, really is.
So y'all can see I'm really, like, I'm getting the paint in here and then wiping off most of the excess.
So fun.
So you really do not need a whole lot. And we're only painting in the white square areas too.
Yep.
So you're not painting the whole thing. I hope that I didn't cut you off turning the heat gun on.
I love this heat gun.
This is a good one. Now don't hold it too close. These heat guns get like really hot. I'll also say if you all are using a glossy or a like satiny latex based paint, that when you heat this up, it makes the paint really gummy. And so whenever you remove this tape, it like stretches the paint out. And that's what I was talking about earlier. With the chalk paint, you can see it drying as I'm going over it. Don't sit in one place for too long with this thing. That only took me like a minute to put that base coat down, and I swear it makes all the difference, you guys.
Yeah, I love the heat gun. I could make a whole video on why like if you had to make a video with the 5 tools, so not like Cricut machine tools, but like crafting, I would say a hot glue gun, a staple gun, a heat gun.
Okay.
Those are like my top 3, like I could take over the world. I could reupholster stuff.
Oh yeah.
I could,
That's
you know,
true.
just speed craft. Like it's so fun.
I don't know if you guys could pick 3 craft tools, just like if you were on a stranded on an island, you could take 3 craft tools.
Those 3 tools, I
be?
can take over the world, no doubt. Absolutely.
I haven't thought about a staple gun, but that's actually a good.
When I discovered the staple gun in my craft career, it really elevated the game. I felt like I could reupholster.
It's like the gateway drug for power tools, honestly.
Yes,
a staple
it really
gun.
Is. It really is.
Okay, now this is dry, so we're gonna go in with our pink. And like before, we're just painting the white squares. I'm gonna do all of these ones in the middle and then go on my edges because I'm gonna slow down to do my edges.
Yeah.
So I don't mess it up. Guess you could technically tape those off if you wanted to. But I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit. I think I can do it on my own.
Yes.
And you can do 1 or 2 coats on these. Just make sure you're drying in between coats. If you try to go over paint and it's not completely dry, it just it will pull up the paint. It doesn't look as good.
So Lindsay says, so you're just cleaning up the pink edges right now?
Yes. So I am, well, no, I'm cleaning up. I'm making sure that the edges of the pink are clean.
Right.
Like whenever we pull this tape off, y'all are gonna see, they're gonna be crispy clean. Crispy clean. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and do our edges, and I'm just gonna be super careful. This chalk paint kind of comes off pretty easily, so I may get some on my frame, but I can clean it up later on because it'll just scratch right off. So I'm kind of getting as close as I can to that edge. And you know, this sign is a labor of love, but in a good way, because it's a pretty substantially sized sign. And I feel like this would be such a cute gift for somebody. I don't know, it just looks very professional in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks so elegant, so good, things like that.
It looks like I bought it at Hobby Lobby. I mean, I did buy the sign at Hobby Lobby, but y'all know what I'm saying. It's profesh.
Yeah, I love this color. I mean, taking a Hobby Lobby sign and doing something like this is just so much fun. Look at that. Look at it.
Is it looking crazy overhead?
It actually looks really like, people are probably like, what is she doing? Like, I don't know. I look at it. I mean, obviously I know what you're doing, but like I look at it, I'm like, wait, what's happening? What are we doing? And then it's go that bang. It's going to all come together. So that's what happens.
Okay, so I'm just working. I'm getting paint on these edges, y'all, but it's okay. I'm gonna fix it. We'll clean it up.
Let us know what questions you guys have. We are enjoying the new Canva course. Y'all, July is going to be here before you know it, and we are going to be, #1, celebrating the Amazon sales. We're really hoping that the promotions this year are like wow-worthy.
I hope so.
We're really hoping. And we also are wanting to make sure, you guys know we're doing Christmas in July, so we're going to be doing so many Christmas projects. You're going to not want to miss out. It is incredible.
So many. A light brown tan with pink would be pretty. Oh yes, I would love that. Okay, now you don't have to dry it. You can just go on, like you don't have to hit this with the heat gun if you don't want to, but you have to be a little bit more careful when you're peeling the tape off if you do it while it's still wet, because obviously like it could accidentally lay back down on the sign and things like that. So I'm just gonna hit it with the heat gun for a second and then we're gonna peel it off. It doesn't have to be completely dry. Y'all ever be making a project and you're like, that's not gonna work? Like you've even you're trying to trust your own process.
Right.
That's what I'm doing right now.
You're trusting it. You got
Internally freaking out.
Crazy.
I've done this a million though. It's okay.
Yeah, you got this.
Okay. You guys ready? You know what? Let's do the horizontal pieces first. We're gonna pull all these off. Look. Ooh, she's crispy.
Ooh. Crispy, crispy, crispy.
Krispy Kreme, Krispy Kreme.
Love it, love it, love it.
Oh my gosh, this is the most satisfying part. Okay. Now the vertical pieces. This is where the magic happens. Look at it. Now I'll say my edges. I gotta clean up my edges, but it's okay. Like the middle is looking bomb.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Look at that. I love it.
Love it.
So good. Deb says, I always thought trying to dry paint with a heat gun would only make it sticky and warm. Didn't know it actually dry. Oh, Deb, once you start drying it with the heat gun, you'll
never go back.
Unlocked a new level. See, this is what I'm saying. Now it looks so good.
Yeah, it truly does. Here, I'll show you guys from far away.
Yay!
Look how cute.
So fun. So fun.
What the F? The white, first layer was white to prevent bleeding. Now, I do this technique on like real wood signs where there's a lot more wood grain. With a sign like this, you're not gonna have as many issues with bleeding under the stencil or the tape, but it's almost like habit to me now. So I always put, if you lay a stencil down or lay tape down to like mask something, put the base color on top of the stencil. So if you painted your base red and you're going with a black design, you're gonna paint your base red, put the stencil or the decal on, paint it red again on top of it, and then paint it black, and then remove the decal.
Yes.
Okay, that's my order of events in my brain. I'm gonna have to clean up the edges, but you guys get the gist of how to paint the squares. Hopefully, if you guys have any questions, pop them in the chat.
Yes.
Thank
Pop it
you,
in the chat,
Lindsay.
watch it again. As you're doing yours, just repeat each step along the way with Alicia. It'll be very helpful to trying to remember every step of the way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so first part of the project done, and it's only 2:05.
Woohoo!
Holla. If you are like, oh my gosh, I'm so confused, please go back and watch it. This video is gonna live on the channel, so you can go back, rewatch it, hit pause if you need to, and then yeah.
And if you're new here, I just want to let you all know, be sure to let us know. We'd love to welcome any first-time guests. If you haven't been around in a while, we'd love to welcome you. That's so fun.
Welcome back.
Good to see our friends of the channel as well.
Absolutely. Okay, I cut these before we came on because I was worried it was going to be taking all day to cut everything. But y'all, this Silly Winks adhesive backed foam is what you're going to want to get for this sign. Okay, make sure it's the adhesive back. There's a difference. So these ones have adhesive on the back, which is even more helpful for us because before we didn't have that, and so now it's going to be really nice because it's already got sticky back, and we were going to have to glue it, and now we don't have to do that. So I cut out our smiley face and I cut out both layers of the girls, but let's get into Design Space, and I'm going to show you how to set all this up and tell you how many you need to cut of everything and all that. So let's go to Cricut Design Space. We're going to go back. And somebody's been designing in Canva or in Cricut. Okay, so we're going to, let's go find our old project and I'll show you guys how to set this up. So this is what you're gonna end up working with. And we need to go get a font. So we're gonna be using a Maker's Gonna Learn font. And if you are new here, we always use our fonts and files because we have so many good ones. Like, why would I go anywhere else?
Right, exactly.
So we're gonna go to our website. So it's makersgonnalearn.com, and we're gonna go to fonts. So once you become a member, once you log in, you're gonna get total access to all of these. That includes like if you're getting the discounted rate today, you're gonna get just as much access as everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come up here to fonts, and we're using a font called Premiere today. Everything's linked below. Deb, it doesn't have to be Silly Winks, but I would try what you have, but the Silly Winks adhesive backed is the cleanest cut I've gotten so far. This is the font we're using, but feel free to use whatever font your heart desires. I'm going to download this. It's gonna pop into a zip folder. We're gonna open that up, double click it, and hit install font. Okay, let's go back to Cricut. I'm gonna say what I've done, and we're going to hit view and reload. Now, if you've never uploaded a font to Cricut and you're like, that was way too fast for me, whenever you join our membership, we have the 30 days to master your Cricut, and we break that down super slow for you guys. Everything I'm doing today, all these techniques and things like that, inside of the membership is broken down into bite-sized pieces. So you're not gonna have to, we're not gonna be speeding through it like that, you know?
Yep.
It's broken down. So we've got our font, and we need to get our smiley face. Let's see here. So we're gonna go cut files, and I've already got it, but I just wanna show you guys where it's at. Smiley. And honestly, if y'all wanted to use like a groovy flower, would be cute here.
I mean, there's a lot. Let's talk
options.
about I mean, you're cutting something, Alicia, pretty detailed.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like it has to be super chunky and like not detailed. Like, you just want to be careful. I will say you're cutting it pretty large.
Right.
So that's the thing. Like, if you want to do complex, just go larger.
Big. Yeah.
Go big. Yeah.
And but still not super complex either.
Right.
You know, you can test it out, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I think going with a clean cut font is going to be your best bet. And we're using lots of basic shapes. So like the smiley face is just a circle. The lightning bolts are a little bit more intricate, but that's pretty much as intricate as it's going to get. So I've downloaded the image to my computer, but to get it into Cricut Design Space, I'm going to need to upload my image, go to my Finder or my File Explorer, and we're going to be pulling in the SVG. So the SVG is the cut image, S for scissors, and we're going to hit continue and upload. Beautiful. Let me zoom out real quick here. Okay, so before I start plugging in all of my design elements, I need to create a square that is the size of my blank, which we just measured, and I've already forgotten. It was 18.25 by 11.5-ish.
Love it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go shapes, square, and then up here you're gonna unlock it. Our width's gonna be 18.25 by 11.5. And this is our blank. I'm gonna change it to white just so I can see what's going on. And then we have our smiley face. If he's in the back, just go to arrange and bring to front.
Love it.
We'll sit that there. And now we can get a text box and add in our text, okay? So this is the part where you can start getting creative, start coming up with whatever you want. I'm gonna do girls only, and we're gonna change the font to that Premiere. So all your downloaded fonts are gonna live in System. I'm gonna select that, and it's gonna come in really spaced out. So here in just a second, I'm gonna show you all how you can bring them together. So girls only, chicks only would be cute, you know, whatever you want. Or girls rule would be cute. Okay, so I need these letters to be much closer, okay? So there's two ways that you could do it. Initially, I'm gonna say letter spacing up here. With the text box selected that you wanna bring closer, you can come up here to letter space, and we're gonna hit the down arrow, and it's gonna pinch these letters together. So you can pinch them as close together as you want without overlapping. It kind of starts to look crazy if you overlap. And then we could technically, see this is -1.8. We could come over here and put the same spacing, but I want to show you all what that would look like. So only has less letters. And so when we put the same spacing in between, it makes it smaller than girls. And since they're mirroring one another, I don't like that. So what I like to do is take only and put it over girls, and I'm gonna minimize the letter spacing until it reaches the edge of girls. So they're the same width, even though their spacing's different. I think it looks more symmetrical that way. So you can see it looks more like it mirrors each other, even though girls has one extra letter. So that's how I would do it.
Love it.
And then you can shrink this down like a hair. I feel like it was just a little bit too big. And yeah, that's
So
how
fun.
you would lay it out. That's pretty much it.
So good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hide. Let's just delete that. This one is actually the size of the girls that I pre-cut out. So we've already cut out the girls. So I'm just gonna delete that. And then the smiley face, it's two different colors. So this beige layer, and I can change these colors to match what I'm actually doing.
So can you confirm with Lindsay, the sticky back foam is what we're using. We've tested it and it's our favorite.
Yes, it is. And honestly, I may need to update the links because I literally figured it out like an hour before the live, you guys.
Yeah.
So we will update it to the sticky back, or just make sure when you get over to wherever it's linked to, like Amazon or whatever, just look for the sticky backed, okay? So, smiley face. If you don't want to be confused, you can change the colors of the smiley face so everything cuts out on the same mat. So I'm cutting the lightning bolts, the outline of the smiley face, the actual smile, and the words in black. So what I did, you'll see the smiley face is opened up in layers like this. There's a little arrow. You can push that, and underneath it is all of the options. So I'm gonna change everything to the actual color I'm gonna be cutting it out of. So this basic circle is gonna be cut out of white. And then the outline, I'm gonna hold the shift key down and select the smiley, the lightning bolts, and then we're gonna change that to black. And I'm gonna change my only to black as well. let's delete this only. Bring this to the front. So it comes in by default as like a charcoal gray. I do this all the time. I'm like, oh, it's the same color, and it's not. It's like black and charcoal gray. So make sure you change everything to the same color. It doesn't matter what color, the same, if you want it to cut out from the same piece of material. So we need to just hide our square because we don't need that. The only things we need to be cutting, actually, technically, is this white circle, and we need to cut out our only. So I can, since we already cut out this piece right here, we cut out the outline, we cut out the lightning bolts and the smile, we've cut out girls. In design space, if I just want to cut out one section of this smiley face, I don't have to cut the whole entire thing, okay? I want this big circle right here only, so I can go in here and hit this little eyeball, and it's gonna hide all the other parts of that image. So now it's just gonna cut the white circle out, okay?
What I just realized?
What?
You deleted.
I know. We had the same realization. Lauren said, "You want to know what I just realized?" We had the same realization.
Crazy.
You know what I can do is measure my smiley face I already cut. Let's measure this guy. So it's like 5 1/8.
Love it.
What's that as a decimal? I don't know.
2.5 is a quarter, so half of 2.5 is going to be 1.25.
Love it. And the name of the font?
Cross your fingers, everybody.
Cross your fingers. What's the name of the font? Just give us the-
Premiere.
Premiere. And this is for Makers Gonna Learn. So if you
Yes.
need any fonts, just head over there. It'd be so good.
Okay, I'm going to save my project. Okay, we've done a lot of work. We don't want to mess it up.
Yay, don't lose it.
Don't lose it. Okay, we're cutting on an Explorer 3. I was a little worried this wasn't going to work on the Explorer, but it works
Right.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, we tested on multiple machines, and this is the machine that like showed up and showed out the best.
Yeah. Maker worked too, but it took me a while.
Right.
Okay, so we've got our white circle. We're gonna start by cutting our black layer. Now, I need 2 of these onlys. So you could duplicate it on the canvas, so you've got 2, because we want 2 layers. Or you can just come up here to project copies and hit 2. It's gonna duplicate this up here, but it's okay. We'll just delete it here in a minute. And then hit apply. We're gonna come back to the black layer, and this is what we need to cut twice, okay? So, get your mat, get your sticky backed foam, and we are gonna put this on here. And I'm gonna use the brayer. I don't like to use a burnishing tool on foam because, let me show you. Maybe it may not
Show us.
It may not show as good as I want it to, but sometimes when you're using the brayer, or the burnishing tool, it makes it streaky. Can y'all
Yeah.
kind of see that? I just don't like it. So I use the brayer, and it sticks just fine. I love a
Perfect.
brayer. Listen, that's one of my 3 I'm taking on to my deserted island, is the brayer.
The brayer.
A brayer, a mini easy press.
Oh, a mini easy press.
some
So good.
hot glue, I
Some
guess.
hot glue. You gotta
Is
have
there
the
electricity?
Lily.
I don't know.
Sure, we have generators.
Oh, okay, cool, perfect. Definitely taking that then.
Love it.
Okay, so then you're gonna go to continue, and it's gonna connect to our machine. Kelly thought you were gonna say, in the name of the Father.
Son and the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so when you get to your base materials, this is where the magic is really gonna happen, because you're gonna make your own custom cut setting. If you have never done this before, it's super easy. I just need you guys to pay attention. So come back to me if you have
Yep.
been wandering off doing your own thing. I'm gonna show you all how to create your own custom cut settings in Cricut. You're just gonna go to Browse on Materials. And if you type in foam, there's an EVA foam right here. There's even a craft foam and a glitter craft foam. We don't need that. We need to go to material settings. And then from here, we're gonna go find that EVA foam. So right here, 145 deep point blade. I'm here to tell you, it's not gonna cut through. If your machine cuts through, it's either brand new or touched by Jesus. I don't know. It didn't work for us, okay? We went
Right.
through like 4 employees trying to get this to work. So I made my own custom cut setting after kind of playing around with stuff. And what I found that worked was 175, a pressure of 175. You don't need multiple passes, D-point blade, period. Okay, so if you want to make your own, you're going to need to scroll down to the bottom. We're going to add a new material, name it whatever you want to remember it. I'm just going to type in EVA foam 2, hit save.
I was just making a video about this hack.
Yes, we love it. And then you can see automatically it goes to 175, so we're going to keep it.
Okay.
This is where you put in how many passes you need. We don't need to change that.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, surprisingly. And then deep point blade. Okay, and then we're gonna hit save and then done. So let's go down here, hit done, and then you can browse on materials, type it in again. I'd already put this in once, so I made it in all caps. This is the one we just created, so we're gonna use that one and then hit done. Okay, now, before you do anything, it's telling us load your deep point blade, which I have not done yet. So, open your clamp, remove any blades that are already in there, make sure you've got the right blade and your black housing, and then we're just gonna load our machine, our mat into our machine.
Yay.
I am trying to clean up my edges, you guys, because I was being so messy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I guess I could technically go in here and like,
Totally.
this would be a good thing for those little emery boards.
Yes, we were filming all day yesterday, so we're referencing. I have a new Dollar Tree craft hack video coming out, and it is like on fire. Like, you know, a lot of the time when there's hack videos and they don't really like show you the hack, they just tell you you could do it. No.
We did it.
We did it.
We did
it. Yeah, drawing on bags. I sealed some vinyl with clear nail polish.
And that looked good this morning.
It did!
Because I was like, I don't know about that.
I used a lint roller as transfer tape after y'all have rolled your eyes at ears for me, saying you can't do it.
I've done that too, okay? Okay, so before you remove this, I need you guys to check your cut, because if you're using other foam that I haven't suggested, it may not have cut through. If you need to cut it again, all you need to do is hit this play button. It's gonna send it back through and it'll cut it again. Check it again. Because if you're using this regular foam right here without the sticky adhesive back, it may need 10, 12 more passes. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It took me like 14 passes the first time and I was still having to rip it out. So I don't know if it was my machine or what, but today it's working. So anyways, those cut out perfectly. We're gonna go ahead and eject our mat. And then I'm going to be cutting the base of the smiley face out of that regular foam. So I'm wondering, this is gonna be the real test, because I'm wondering if it's gonna cut it out just as good as this, and y'all can really see what happened here. So I'm gonna remove this entire thing. Just set it to the side for a moment. And then we are going to cut this. Where's my brayer? Okay. Now, for some reason your mat is not super sticky, make sure you tape your foam down so it's not gonna be moving. Okay, I'm gonna use the same EVA foam setting here. Hit done. And then we're just gonna load this in. Oh, hold on. Hold the phone, everybody. I only need one. So let's just hit cancel. And I'm going to select one that I don't want.
I love this hack, actually.
Yeah, me too. It's so easy. Just hit the 3 dots and hide it. It comes down here. If you accidentally hide something you don't want, click on it and it'll come back.
So Deb, the reason we say the maker wasn't the one, it just was not, we did not have good results with it.
Now this morning I did. This with the adhesive back this morning. So I don't know what the deal is. I think it's the foam that we're using. So I know my maker has been getting double duty from me and Mary Catherine, so she's getting
it's also, I mean, it's getting some age on her. I mean, when you're using these machines every day.
Yeah, we're really
working.
These machines.
I mean, they're being used 3-4 days a week, 2-3 hours a day at minimum, you know.
I'm trying to think. I think I've had one new machine since I've been here, and it was because my like housing broke.
Right.
But other than that, they've like...
One thing I love about Cricut, you know, I love to be the harder person on Cricut, but their customer service has always been really nice to us.
Yeah.
And they don't even
They
know who
video chatted me one day.
Oh, did they?
To help me,
That's
yeah.
so sweet. They don't even know who we are. We just call us like regular people.
Yeah, we don't have a side
Yeah, we
line.
don't have a side hookup, but.
Okay, y'all. Let's see if this cut.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did it cut? Did it cut? Did it cut?
not it did, but like,
Oh. It just needed a little something.
I need a little.
Look at that. Cut so
Lauren,
well.
could you go get those emery boards for me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
so
I just have
good.
been dying to try these on
So
this.
good, so
So when your foam, I'm gonna use this mat so you can see. Sometimes the foam will get cut out and it's rigid. I was using sandpaper to smooth it out, but we got these emery boards from the Dollar Tree and I just really want to try them on this because this is the kind of project I would use them on. So Lauren bringing them to me, thanks. Okay, these are from the Dollar Tree. These are called emery boards. They're literally nail files, but they're small, so they're great for crafts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pull one out. I know some people don't like the sound of filing, but I'm so sorry. This isn't that bad.
Is it working? Is it working?
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, we're just trying to get some of this excess like rigidness off. You can also just simply take like small scissors and trim around the edges, which I did do that on some of them as well. This is good just for small stuff. This isn't gonna like shape your circle to make it look
right.
You know what I mean? It's just barely getting it.
Yeah.
So you can go through there, sand all that. Now, let's see if our circle's the right size. Oh, it sure enough is. It is. Yay. Go, Lauren.
Go, Lauren.
Okay, so now from here, if you're not using adhesive backed foam, you're gonna need to use hot glue.
Yes.
Okay, but we have adhesive backed foam. So I'm gonna take off this outer ring. And actually, I need to sand this down because look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Gotta stay focused.
This will like come up and go back down if you need it to. It's pretty forgiving,
so
which is
good.
nice. Okay. Ooh. Oh gosh.
You got it.
Okay. So my circle's like a hair. A hair off.
It's okay. No problem.
Yeah. And then you take your little innard pieces. Now, if you really want to line these up, pop your lightning bolts out, put this in, and then take the back off your lightning bolts, stick them down, and you can remove that smiley face. So it lines it up perfectly.
Yes, and we're so excited for you to get your Cricut back out. So good. Donna remastered her business card. Yay!
Oh, good.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Donna has been putting in the work, y'all.
Yes, so good. So good.
Okay. And then you can just pull that up. And then you can layer. You can do the same thing with your smile, but it's so skinny. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this
Right.
personally.
Perfect.
I need to trim. I'm going to take a True Control knife and trim this up here in a minute.
Yeah.
It's looking fuzzy, but honestly kind of giving it like a grungy vibe, which I'm not against. Like in this one, I feel like it's so clean cut. And this one, I'm like, oh, it's a little edgy, a little spiky, you know? And then we've got our words. So we've got girls twice and only twice. Now, the reason we cut them out twice is that's how we get that 3D wooden look. So 2 layers is really the best bet.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna take one off and I'm gonna line these up while they're on the mat.
So good.
Or while they're on the foam still.
So good.
Okay, and we can use these cutouts as our guide for placing them on the wood sign too, which is really nice. Okay, pull this out. I will say using black is a lot easier to line up than using other colors because you're going to be able to see it a lot more if you're doing like yellow or white, you're gonna be able to see where it separates.
Yeah.
So black is like a good bet, especially if it's your first one.
So good.
Okay, so I'm just popping these out as I go. If you've got any rough edges, you can file them as you go or cut them off with scissors.
Love it.
Yes.
Can you weed off the excess foam to make lining up easier?
Like before I take it off the mat?
Possibly.
I wouldn't. I would do it exactly this way, just because everything's right where it needs to be. I don't know. This is just the best method for me. Now, if you feel better doing it a different way, listen, go for it. Okay. And once you get this on a wall, it's gonna look like a wood sign. Like it's gonna, you cannot tell. You can't even, like in real life, those look like wooden pieces that were cut on a laser to me.
Isn't that crazy? Like it looks like it was cut, it was painted, it was glued, you know what I mean? Like, so nice.
It's crazy. Okay. Now we're gonna rinse and repeat, save this. We need it here in a second for our stencil. And you're gonna do the same thing with the only. It may be a little bit easier for you to take the middles of the letters out first and then put that second layer on.
Aw, Bobby says, loving the Canva course. It got me out of my box to go further with my designs with less effort. How crazy is that?
I love that.
Good.
That's a testimonial right there.
Yes, so fun. I'm gonna screenshot that one.
Our ends did not cut. Where is my true control knife? I just had her. Is this it? Nope. Am I looking?
Paint off with her.
Oh. For some reason, the end didn't want to cut. So just take your true control knife and cut it yourself. Neither one of these ends cut. That's why you don't want to do anything super intricate. You can have detail, but just like nothing crazy.
So fun.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I watched a video because after we couldn't do it, I was like, I gotta see if other people are getting it, and like other people would get it on the first time, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why can't we figure this out?
What are we doing?
So I'm so glad we mastered it.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, let us know what projects you guys have been working on.
Absolutely. Listen, I can't believe that we're almost done at 2:35. You guys
you pretty much
impressed?
did 2 full projects.
Pretty much.
Right? So fun. And we are really proud of the Cricut for cutting this just because it's foam and it's a little tricky and things like that. It's a little bit different. So yeah, we are very proud and very happy with that process. Yeah, we're really, really happy actually.
I was low-key worried.
For real.
Like, because we did it, but it was like not, you know, not up to par. Not up to our par, but I was like, you can make it work.
I made my own SVGs this week. Congratulations!
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
That is so exciting.
I just be so proud of like making my own design for things,
Heck
you know?
yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, UV resin keychain, so fun! You guys are rocking it this week. That is incredible.
Okay. Oh gosh. Now we've got all of our letters. So what we're gonna do first is put on our smiley face, okay? Now, you need to hot glue this down. If you're not using adhesive back, we're gonna hot glue it down. You can measure this out exactly. I'm just kind of like basing it off of these squares. I need to come this way a little bit. And then you can even base it off of these squares, so it needs to come down a little bit. That's in the middle for me. I'm also gonna clean that smiley face up a little bit more.
I love it.
So I'm not gonna attach it, but hot glue it down or peel off the backing and then sit it down after you figured out the exact placement.
Right.
A lot of times when I'm working on placing on signs, I will mark it, get some tape if I have to remove it to put glue on it and put it back down. So you can put some painter's tape around it so you know, oh, it's gonna sit right in that little area.
Yes.
If you have the perfect spot, and then you can put it back down. And then for the girls section, I'm gonna actually move this back. I'm gonna actually cut this off. This is my little stencil. So I've still got the backing is not sticky for the stencil. I just need to kind of lay it there. And then we're gonna do the same thing for only. So this is just our guideline so that we can make sure everything is straight.
I love this hack. I think if more people need to do this right here.
Yeah, just helpful.
Kathy's doing 15 shirts. Go, Kathy.
Wow, that's awesome.
Love it. Shirt order. Created a vacation itinerary on Canva so my teens and husband stop asking what day we are doing what. Sarah, oh my gosh, I love that.
That's my kind
Did
of
my
woman.
first sublimation t-shirt. Woohoo!
Oh,
congratulations.
exciting. Okay. So I'm lining this up with the top edge of this line of squares going through here. Just make sure it's not too close to the edges. And I'm gonna actually tape this down. Just with little pieces of painter's tape. I'm not doing the adhesive back on this because I don't want it to like potentially peel up my paint. I just want to put a little down so I know it's going to stay. Okay. And then you can start plugging it in.
Look at that.
Looky there.
So fun.
This is totally my vibe. Like this pink and white checkered.
The pink and white checkers are legit.
It's actually giving like Avril Lavigne.
It really is.
You guys know that I was supposed to sing Skater Boy in the talent show.
What year of school?
I was in 6th grade.
6th grade, I knew it.
Or 8th grade? I don't know. I was in middle school for sure.
So funny.
I was obsessed with Avril Lavigne. I ended up not doing it because it was like me and 2 other girls, and then like only 2 of us could do it. I don't know. And then so they did it, and I was like, actually, I'm glad because I would have embarrassed myself because I can't sing.
That's funny.
One time I tried out for talent show, and I performed a dance to "Earl Had to Die" that I made. I made it up at recess before the day of tryouts, and they would not allow me to perform it because of the song. Yeah.
Rude. You worked hard.
I worked hard creating that routine on the playground in front of everybody.
Yes, you did.
And you know those kids were like hyping me up on the playground. They were like, Alicia's going to go try out with Earl Had to Die. And I was like, yeah. And it was me and another girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we killed it, honestly. But, you know, haters going to hate.
Yep. Period.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
So fun.
2 more, y'all. 2 more.
Oh, mixed media today. I'm addicted to MGL. Yay! So fun. So fun. Did my first sublimation t-shirt this week. Go, Lindsay. Just made sun catcher ornaments.
Ooh.
Yay.
Okay, now I'm going to pull up our stencil. Some of it may be caught behind the letters, so Just be aware when you're pulling it up. Like this G, for example. There we go.
Such a fun technique.
Yeah. See, it did pull some, oh, that's like the foam sticking to the piece of wood for some reason. But I can scrape that off. I'm gonna clean this up. Listen, I'll post a picture in the Facebook group after I clean it up.
Yeah.
And you guys tell me what you think.
Yes, and if you're not already a member, you gotta get in there. Yeah, the foam pieces trying to stick is not the vibe.
I know, but it's okay.
Crazy.
I can clean it up with some paint.
Yeah, so good, so good.
There you go, y'all. I didn't attach my smiley, but you get it.
Yep, that one's so fun.
I mean, it looks like wood. I can't get over it.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Love it. All right.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our 13 days of Halloween. I hope you are excited for what we have in store for you today, and that is our reversible vertical porch sign. Now, today we're gonna get kind of like a 2-in-1 craft where you all are gonna get a Halloween craft and a fall craft. So stick around to learn exactly how we are gonna do this with our Cricut. Before we get started on our porch sign, one thing I do want to make sure that you all know, we are going to be doing a frameless porch sign, so it's going to look like it has a frame, but it's not going to have a frame, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful by the end. But our supplies, it looks like there's a lot on this table, and there is. Obviously, we are starting out with our wood plank. Now, this one we just got from Hobby Lobby. You can pick these up at any local home improvement store, or craft store, either one, and you really can get whatever size you want for this. We just picked this one up at Hobby Lobby because it was simple and easy. Because we are working with a large area, we are also going to need a 12 by 24 light grip cutting mat. Now, we are going to be painting this sign today, and we are going to be using StarCraft chalk paint. On the other side, which I will show you guys in a minute, I've already painted one side black, and so this side I'm going to be using linen white, but we are going to be using chalk paint. We're also going to use painter's tape. This is just the Frog brand painter's tape. Any painter's tape will work. We are going to be using a straight edge for measuring for our frameless effect, as well as a pencil to mark that off. Because we are painting, we are going to need a paintbrush. After we have finished painting, we are going to be staining the edges of our sign, and I will go ahead and flip this over for you so you can see what I mean. So I have just taped this off, and what I'm going to be doing is we're going to be coming in here. This is our favorite wood stain. It is the Early American. And we're just going to be coming in here and staining the edges of this so that it gives it the faux frame look. When it comes to staining, you are going to need some gloves, and we've just got an old t-shirt or an old rag that you've cut up, and we're going to be staining those edges with that. Once we have painted our sign, we are going to be using HTV to apply our design to our sign. So you will need lots of different colors of HTV depending on what design you want. These are the colors that we are going to be using today. You are also going to need a sanding block, and that's just to give this sign a good light sand all over. And finally, you are going to need florals. Now, this is something that is not absolutely required for your sign. We think that it would give it a very nice touch. Now that we have gone over all of our supplies, we are going to actually start with preparing our sign before we jump into the design space portion. And the reason we're doing this is because you need to have your sign painted and let it fully dry before we move on to any other step. So as you can see, I've already painted one side of this sign. This is going to be the Halloween side of the sign. I'm going to teach you guys how to add this frame to our sign, and then we're going to go ahead and paint it, and then once it's dried, we are going to add the stain, and then we will add our HTV. So first thing that you want to do with your sign is you want to measure, you want to know how large your frame is going to be. So with this piece of wood is a It's 9 inches in width anyway, so it's fairly small when it comes to working with an area. So I decided to only leave a very, very small, like a 1/2 inch frame along the edge. So what you will need to do is decide how large you want your frame to be. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna come in here and we're gonna mark ever so often on that 1/2 inch mark. So we're going to come over here and we're going to measure 1/2 inch. And then we're going to do that all the way across the sign. Once you have the sign marked all the way around, what I'm doing now is I'm just coming in here with this straight edge and I'm making my marks. Once you have made your marks all across your sign, what you're going to do now is you're going to take your painter's tape and you are going to lay that along the edge of your marks. Then you're just going to come in with your finger and make sure that is down nice and smooth. Now that we've got that taped off, one thing that I want to make sure to let you guys know, for best results, if you want to, you can give this a light sand. I have already given it a light sand before taping it off, but that is what the sanding block is for, just to give your whole sign a light sand. With the chalk paint, if you are using a darker color, black mainly covers everything up, but because I'm using this white color, this linen, I did give this side a light sand. So make sure that you do that before you start painting. I'm going to give this sign its first coat of paint. Now, as you are painting your sign, you can use, we actually suggest that if you are painting the signs using a small roller, we just did not have any at this moment. So you can, as you can see, you can use a brush. We use brushes all the time, but with larger areas, sometimes a roller will work best. Now that we have the first coat of paint on our sign, we are actually going to set it aside and let it dry. You will need to do a second coat, maybe even a third if you're doing a light color. Normally with these chalk paints, 2 coats of paint do great. However, we did do the linen white, so we're going to at least do 2 coats and then see how it looks after 2. But now that we have this done, we're going to set it aside and then we're going to hop over into Design Space. Now, while we're waiting on our sign to dry, here in Design Space, we're going to start the process of designing our porch sign. So what I have done is I've actually measured the size that the painted area is, and I have put in a guide, 2 different guides, one for each side in Design Space. Now you are gonna have to work, we're working at 25% because it's hard to see if you don't zoom it way out, because of how tall this porch sign is. So one side is going to be our Halloween side, and then one side is going to be our fall side. So on our Halloween side, I'm going to show you what I want it to look like and then I'm going to teach you how to get there. So on our Halloween side, I'm going to have a cute little ghostie down here in the corner, and it's going to say "Boo, y'all." And then for our fall side, we are going to have "Hey there, pumpkin," with a cute little pumpkin on the bottom. And we are actually leaving room on the top of both of these signs so that we can add in a floral piece. So just keep that in mind. That's why we're leaving the tops, the area up top, is so we can put a floral piece there. So I'm going to hide these again, and I'm going to walk you step by step on how to get to our finished product. First of all, I'm going to show you guys and teach you guys how to download fonts from Maker's Gonna Learn. We actually have 2 on this computer that are not downloaded, so I'm going to head over to Maker's Gonna Learn. The first one that we're going to be looking for is the Sassy Cow. That's the one that that's the cow print that the word boo was in. So I'm just going to search Sassy Cow. It's going to come up, and we're going to download this one. The next one we are going to search for is Free Spirit. Now you don't have to type in the whole word. You can just type in the first part of the word and it will search for you. So right here, Free Spirit, I'm going to download that. So these are both zip files. We are now going to have to open each one of them separately, open the font up, and install it into our font book. So I'm going to go back to Free Spirit, do the same thing, open that up, install the font into font book. Now to get them to work in Design Space, we're going to go here to Cricut, and I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to reload. Now if you're working on something and you haven't saved it, which I've not changed anything here, so I don't have to save it, but if you are working on something and haven't saved it in a while, make sure you go ahead and save it before you hit reload, or it will go back to the last saved time. So once again, make sure you save it and then click reload. What that is going to do is that is going to reload Cricut Design Space. As you can see, it went back to 100%, so we're going to zoom right back out to 25. And then here it is. We're going to hide these. And what that does is that uploads the fonts that you previously did not have on Design Space, and it puts them in there. So now we're going to go over to text. We're going to do the drop-down search menu. Now the new Cricut update, you do have to go to System for System Fonts. So we are looking for a system font, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to work with Sassy Cow. So I'm going to grab that. From here, I'm just going to type out the word boo. Now the cool thing about the new Design Space feature is I can just move this in, and look, it already makes it vertical, or you can move it out and it puts it back horizontal. So we are wanting this word to be vertical, so I am moving it in from the sides to make it vertical, and from there I'm going to move it over here and I'm going to size it up as large as I can. Okay, so now we have our boo, and you can move it up or down, add things, whatever you want. Next, we're going to add the word y'all. So once again, we already uploaded that font. I'm going to go in here to text. I'm going to change the font to Free Spirit. Go to Systems, Free Spirit. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so I can see it. And then y'all. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down below. We're going to have to size it down to fit in our guide and then place it down here. So our next step, what we're going to do, and one thing that you can do to kind of keep things separate, if you want to change your guide back to basic cut, that way you can see what color background you're working with. So I know that my background is black. So because the Halloween background side is black, I'm not going to cut out boo out of black vinyl. So I'm going to change this to white. This way we kind of have more of an idea of exactly what our sign is going to look like. And I'm going to change that to white. Okay, so now I want my little ghost here in the bottom. If you go to Maker's Gonna Learn and search ghost, it will come up. I have already downloaded it, so I'm just going to go to View All. And then if you've already downloaded an image, this is a very good way, a very good shortcut to check and see if you have downloaded it. I'm just going to type in ghost. So this is what the file looks like on the Maker's Gonna Learn website. I'm going to select that and I'm going to add it to my canvas. From there, I'm going to pull it over to the side And then I'm just going to ungroup these. And then I'm going to delete out the ones that I don't want. We're going to change this little guy back to white. Pull him down here in the corner. And then make him pretty big because we want him looking like he's coming up out of the corner of our sign. So now that we have him there, I'm going to add in my cowboy hat. Because I want to put my cowboy hat on here first before I show you all how to slice out the edge of this ghost so that it fits perfectly in your corner, and that was a good guide for where you can start. So once again, I'm going to go over here to upload, view all. This is one that we have recently. So we're going to select this, select our cowboy hat. Now, as you can see, it's just an outline. I don't want just an outline, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate. I do want to work with the outline, but I also want a solid color. So I'm going to select this part, go to contour, and I'm going to hide all contours. That's just going to give you your basic shape. So now we know that I want my cowboy hat brown, and then I have duplicated that. So that lays right over top of there. You can select both of them and arrange them or align them center so that it fits perfect. So now I'm just going to group those together. That way they cut separately. However, I can move them together here. So once I have that grouped together, I'm going to move it down, probably turn it just a little bit. It does have to be within our parameters. So it looks like our little ghost is too big for our cowboy hat to fit. So we're going to size our little ghosty down, pull our cowboy hat down. Let's move him over some. And then from there you can actually space this out. Okay, so once we have everything pretty well set, one thing about this design is I feel like it can get to where it looks kind of spread out a little bit. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to show you. Now normally I say this is a cardinal sin and you never ever do this. However, with some fonts it works and it can work to your advantage. So this font is locked, which means it can only move up and down. See, nothing else changes. However, if you go up here to your size of your font, this little button right here, the lock button, if you unlock that, the cool thing about this is you can stretch your fonts. Once again, if you are working with an image, cardinal sin to unlock it and stretch it. However, sometimes with fonts, it works to stretch it out just a little bit, especially since we're working with a skinnier area. So we're just going to stretch it down some and stretch it out so that we can fill up all of this area. Now, once we have everything set, now that we have it all set where we want it, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to slice off this excess of this ghost so that we know that it fits perfectly in the corner. So what you're going to do, we have turned this guide into a basic cut currently. So you're going to select your ghost. You're going to come over to your layers panel. All the way at the bottom, you're going to hit Control or Command and select both of those layers. Now, because we are working with 2 layers, it is going to slice. So we want to slice that out. Now, if we go to the top, we can see that we have sliced off the bottom of our little ghosty. So we want to, because I want to still keep my guide together, let's select both of these, and we can actually delete that one out and turn this back into a guide. And then we're going to move our little ghost, we're going to arrange it and send it to back. Now that we have our Halloween side done, we're now going to work on our autumn or fall side, and the 2 fonts that we're going to be using today is Insistence for Pumpkin and Demonstrate for Hey There. So what I'm going to do, grab our text once again, come up here, we're looking for system fonts. We are working with the Demonstrate first, Demon. We're going to make it larger so I can read it, and then I'm just going to type Hey There. Now, from here, because I want it to be fairly large, if I were to size this down, it would have to be super, super small. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this side in so that they're on top of each other, but then I'm going to ungroup to lines. And the reason being is because I want to move this around. So we're going to kind of size it down, and you may have to zoom in some. So we're going to size this down to fit within our guide. And then size this one down as well. I actually think I like that better. So we're going to do not a capital T. We're going to do a lowercase t. And then we're going to size it on down some. And I kind of think I like it touching. Let's size it down just a little more. So this is really going to be a personal preference, how you want it, where you want it. That's going to be totally up to you. But I think we're going to do that. And then once you are satisfied with the placement, then you are going to select them both and you are going to weld them together so that they are one unit. From there, we're once again grabbing our text, and then the text we're going to be using for this one, we're going to Systems, Insistence. We're going to make it larger, all in capital letters. We're going to type out pumpkin, zoom out, and once again, the new feature in Design Space is you can just move this in and then actually move this down. There we go. And now, since it's all vertical, we are going to resize. Once we have this sized down, we're going to go up here to line spacing, and we're actually going to pull our line spacing closer together. That way we could still make it just a little bit bigger. There we go. Boom. Now that we have this set, we're going to add the pumpkin detail. This is where you can download. If you go and search pumpkin, this will come up on makersgonnalearn.com. We are going to add this to Canvas. Now, this is at kind of a different angle than what I'm wanting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to move this pumpkin out of the way. My next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the shapes. I'm going to grab a square. I'm going to pull it over here. Probably just go ahead and unlock that. And I'm going to make it large enough to where it covers this side of the leaves. Now I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to slice. Now the only reason I sliced this is so that I could move this around and kind of manipulate it and this other side the way that I want to. So now I'm going to come in here, size my pumpkin as large or as small as I want, and then I'm going to size my floral pieces down, change the angle a little bit. Now one thing to keep in mind is it does still look small, but this is still a very large piece. So we're going to size it down even more. Move this pumpkin. I'm actually going to change the angle of it just a hair. And then we're going to grab this. Actually, what you can do is once you have this one set and the angle that you want it, you can duplicate it, pull it over, flip it horizontally, bring it in, select these both, align them center, and boom. Now what you could do as well, if you wanted to, you can select your pumpkin and your guide, and then we're going to align them, and we're going to center them horizontally so that our pumpkin is centered within our guide. We are now going to cut our design out of HTV. Now, Obviously, this is a very large design. One thing I want to make sure you guys know and understand is make sure that your letters stay within the 24-inch, 12 by 24 inch. For the most part, if you want them to stay together. Now, one thing I do want to show you, just in case you are not working with a 24-inch piece of vinyl, or you only have 12 by 12 or a shorter piece of vinyl, one thing that you can do, we'll go back to the design space, and I'm going to do this on the word pumpkin. What you want to do is you're going to want to ungroup these and select them one at a time. So we're going to start with a P. Okay, our P is 2 inches in height, and our U makes it 6. So if you have a 12 by 12 mat or piece of vinyl, you can still select more. So now we're at 9 inches. Okay, let's try the other P. Okay, we're over the 12 inches now. So what you are going to want to do is go back, deselect this P, or select these 3, and then you are going to attach them together, okay? And then start with these, so P, K, 6, 9, the N, still over 12, so we're just going to select these 3, and then attach. And so that only leaves your N, only leaves you having to line up your N. So now when you cut, when you go to cut, so let's change this color so that it doesn't show up on that mat. So we're going to go to make it, and then we're going to go down to our pumpkin. So as you can see, the word pumpkin, P-U-M is grouped, is attached together. P-K-I is attached together, and the N is the only thing separate. So technically speaking, you can fit it on a 12 by 12 mat and still have room to cut other things if you want to. That's just a little bit of a hack or a tidbit of information that I wanted to let you guys in on, because I ran into that problem myself where the piece of vinyl that I wanted to work with was not long enough to accommodate the full 24 inches. So I had to group my letters together, and I think it was 2 at a time. So what we're going to do when we add this to our sign, you're going to see that I have 2 letters, 2 letters, 3 letters. So we're going to line it up manually. That's the easiest way that I have to tell you. Yes, it is a manual lineup. However, you can use a straight edge and get those straight. Try your best to get them as straight as possible. But that's the easiest way for me to teach you how to use it if you do not have 24 inches in length of vinyl to cut from. Now, this is HTV that we are going to be using. So what you need to do is you need to make sure all of your images are mirrored, because when you are cutting HTV, you have to be cutting a mirrored image. What that does, you're going to put shiny side down on your mat, you will weed it, and then we're going to turn it over and add it to our sign. Now before we start adding our vinyl to our sign, we're actually going to take off the tape, and I'm going to stain the edges to give us that frameless, framed look. So now I'm just going to be taking up this tape, and I'm actually going to take it up from the bottom down here. One thing I will say is I love frog tape. I know Scotch makes a good tape, and I do love the blue painter's tape, the Scotch Blues painter's tape. But man, frog tape to me just gives me such a good, crisp line. So what I am going to do before I stain this, I'm actually going to come in with an eraser, and I'm going to erase this pencil mark that I put on here by accident first, as best as possible, best as I can. Now, one thing that I will say, if you are doing it all black, you can just go ahead and come in and stain this. And on this side, we are going to do that, and I'll show you, you don't have to tape it off. However, since we are using a cream color on this side, I highly suggest that you take some tape, and I'm going to actually tape off the inside. That way it doesn't get on this early American stain, does not get on our cream paint. Now, one thing I'm doing right here is I'm just coming through and cutting off these corners so that they are straight edges across. And we'll add our last little bit of tape. One other thing I'm going to do before I add the stain is I'm going to do a light sand on the outside edges of this little frame. Now that we have that sanded, I'm going to go ahead and put my glove on, and we are going to start staining the outside of our sign. Now, one of the best practices when it comes to staining is having another dry cloth or a paper towel handy. That way you can wipe away the excess. So we're just going to open our stain up. This is a well-loved stain. We do not have very much of it left. So we're just going to put some on an old rag, and then we're going to come in and just stain these edges. Now, one thing I do want to make sure you all are super careful about, especially with this white layer, is trying your best not to get fingerprints on it, because as you can see, I was not paying attention and got my fingerprints on it right here, which I can kind of buff out a little bit. And really and truly, if you have to, you can kind of come in here with a sanding block and just kind of buff it out and not mess it up. So now that we have that, we're going to pull up our edge. Now, if the stain for some reason gets in the grain and gets on your beige layer, or your lighter layer, what you can do is just go in here and just kind of touch it up just a little bit. Or you could even bring in your paint and do just fine touch-up work. Either one, it really just depends on how precise you want to get. Now that we have our frame stained, we are going to start the process of adding our HTV to our sign. Now, remember with our Halloween design, we had our little ghost that has the corner, so that's where we're going to start with this one specifically. We're going to start down here in the corner, and we're just going to line him up down here with our corner, black corner. And then we are going to come in here with a mini easy press with a heat setting of 2. And we are going to heat this onto our wood sign. Now we are going to add his little hat. Now we're just lining up the hat detail. We're going to add that on. Now we're going to line up the word boo and y'all before we really press it down. First, I'm going to press y'all down. And then we're going to press boo. One thing I am going to do when doing boo, because HTV on wood seems to do a little better with as soon as you put it down, peel it. Now I'm just going to go through and make sure that's all down. So now, other than our floral piece at the top, we have our Halloween side done. Now I'm going to flip it over and do our fall side. Now this design is not one where we can start at the bottom, have a guide, and go up. So I'm actually going to lay all of these out first before I start pressing them down. So we're going to start with our pumpkin toward the bottom, and then add our leaves just to give us an idea of how much room we are working with. Okay, so I'm actually going to move this pumpkin on down toward the very bottom, and I'm going to start the process of pressing. So now we're going to start with our word, pumpkin. You all know we don't like to measure around here. Alicia and I are queens of the eyeball game. So don't come for us for not measuring and getting it precise. And there we have it. Now it is just ready to add the floral detail on the top to both sides. I know this has been a long project, but I really hope that you all have enjoyed it. Porch signs are super popular right now, and I hope you have learned different ways of designing, how to put HTV on wood, how to create a frameless frame. There are so many different things that we covered in this video. Now, if you liked all of the cut files and fonts that we used and you would like to join Makers Gonna Learn, you can at makersgonnalearn.com/join. We are a crafting community where we bring you education, motivation, and inspiration to start using your Cricut. I hope you all have enjoyed our 13 days of Halloween crafts so far, and I can't wait to see what you all create, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn YouTube channel. In this video, I'm gonna be teaching you all how to take Cricut basswood and make an oversized wooden sign. Now, this can be a sign with a name that can go over a baby's crib or in your child's bedroom. You can make it a last name to be a decorative piece in your home. There are so many different ways that you can go with this. I am actually going to be making this sign today for Ruby's Little Play Coffee Company. So that is what we're going to be doing. The results are absolutely amazing, and I really think you're going to enjoy this. So let's go overhead and talk about the supplies that you're going to need. Let me start off by saying this project is for our friends that have a Maker or a Maker 3, and that is because you are going to need a Cricut knife blade to complete this project. We are going to be cutting Cricut basswood, specifically the 1.6 millimeter basswood. So you are going to have a Cricut knife blade or have a machine that has the ability to use an adaptive tool for this project. Next up, we have the Cricut basswood. This is a great material to use if you are wanting to create wooden projects. We love using Cricut basswood, but with the Cricut basswood, you are going to have a strong grip mat because this is a very thick material. But on top of the strong grip mat, you're also going to need painter's tape, and that is to tape your material down when your knife blade is cutting. There's actually a couple things we're going to be using the painter's tape for. So painter's tape is very, very important for this project. Masking tape, painter's tape, either one will work. We just prefer the Scotch Blue painter's tape. Next up, you are going to need some type of super glue. We love using the DAP Rapid Fuse because it truly only takes about 30 seconds for this to hold our project together. Now, something that we don't have on the table that you may want to have is some wood filler just to fill in your seams if you need it. If not, I think the DAP will do just fine. And then finally, I do have a sanding block, and this is to sand your letters once they are cut by your machine, and a true control knife because you are going to be cutting your tape and it's going to just come in really handy. So here in Design Space, you can see we have our Little Babes Coffee Co. already sized here, but I'm gonna show you exactly how we're gonna do that from start to finish. The two fonts that we're going to be using is Vintage Jeans, and then this one is Fierce Sights. These are Maker's Gonna Learn fonts, and I'm going to show you how we can download those into Design Space. And on top of that, if you are not a Maker's Gonna Learn member, you can sign up for free, grab your free trial to our website. We are a membership site where we bring you thousands of cut files, hundreds of fonts, and new fonts and cut files every month, as well as inspiration, education, and motivation to get your Cricut out and start learning how to use it. Now, the two fonts that we're going to be using is Fierce Sights. So all we have to do is type in Fierce. This is the one here. To download the font, what we're going to do is click that arrow pointing down. And the next one is Vintage Jeans. So we're just going to search for this one as well. And then once again, to download, you are going to click the arrow pointing down. Now, one thing I want to make clear, with this project, you do have to have a font that is thicker. Now, Vintage Jeans is not super thick, but it is thick enough that we can make it work. And it's really going to depend on what type or what your sign is going to say. So if we go back to our fonts, I'll give you some examples of what fonts will work and what fonts will not. So if you want all of your letters to be together, obviously a font like this that is not a cursive font is not going to work. It will work, but you're gonna have to place every letter separately. If you want a cursive font, I will show you. Let's go to our styles and we will go to hand lettered, because a lot of hand lettered is cursive fonts. So some examples of some good fonts to use and not good fonts. First of all, Willpower. I love this font by itself. For this project, this font will not work. It is a very thin font and it's just not going to be one that works very well. Now, coming on down, Joyful has areas that are very thick. It does have thinner areas, but it does have very thick areas. This one would be a perfect font for this. Max Patch, even better. So, Betty B, absolutely not. So the font that you choose for this project does matter. Once again, you need to choose something that has a thicker area to work with rather than something that is skinny all the way through. Tulip, way too skinny. Up in the Air definitely could work. So once you have chosen your fonts and you've downloaded them onto your computer, we're going to come up here to the right hand side. We are going to unzip both of our fonts. That was our first one. Unzip our second one. Once those are unzipped, we're going to double click them, install them onto our computer, and then from there, once you have them installed, we're going to go back to Design Space. If you are working on something, make sure that you save your project. And then for Design Space to recognize the new fonts that you've uploaded onto your computer, you're gonna go to View and Reload Design Space. We're gonna save our project. And then what's gonna happen is it is going to now recognize all of those new fonts that you have downloaded. So once we have reloaded, what we are going to do is we are going to start typing out our words. So I'm going to, let's just go ahead and we're just going to hide all of this and we will start from the beginning. Now, you may be wondering, Lauren, what is that square right there? That is very important. I will get to that. Let's kind of scoot over to the side and let's start adding our fonts and our words. So we're going to grab a text box. I'm going to go to our system fonts. Our first one was Vintage Jeans. Here we are going to make it pretty large, and then we are going to type in Little Babes. Leave it like that for right now. Another text box. We are going over to Fierce Sights for this one. And this one is going to say Coffee Co. And then bring that down and size that up as well. That is a little large. So you need to measure the area that you are working with. For example, if I wanted to put something, which of course this is not a good representation because we do have these lines on this board, but let's just say I wanted to put something that would fit all the way across. You need to measure that area. So let's just say, for example, this was the area. We're looking at about 35 inches, and then you want to know about how tall you want it to be. So let's say, 35 by 12 may be what you're looking at. So what you're gonna do, you'll go back into Design Space. Here you can see we're right around 21 inches in length right here. So we need to, if we were wanting to fit it within the 35, you would scale it up and then scale up your other as well. Now, it is going to be, the next step is very important. Remember I said that this was important, that we needed to bring this in and really double check that. This is because this 6 by 12 square is a representation of our 6 by 12 piece of basswood. Now, if you can find the thick Cricut basswood in larger than 6 by 12, then obviously you have more room to work with. But for this, certain parts of certain fonts will have to fit within the 6 by 12. For example, this L probably just needs to be by itself. And when we zoom in, we see that the L is not going to fit on that 6 by 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to size it down just enough so that that L will fit on the 6 by 12 piece of basswood. And you're probably gonna have to zoom in a little more. Now, right now, my eye is within that space. That's okay. I'm gonna show you how we can fix that. But I would probably size it down just a little bit more to be on the safe side. And I think that will work, okay? Now let's zoom back out. I wanna double check my B as well. So I'm gonna bring this over. My B fits perfectly within the 6 by 12. So we have our little babes sized how we want it, how large we want it. And now you want to size your Coffee Co to fit the same. Once you have done that, we are going to pull the Coffee Co down, and I'm going to come back up here, double click this, and I'm going to separate the second half of the word little from the L, also separate from the B. And I'll have to zoom out some more. And this is very important. And then separate the B from babes. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Just bear with me. From this portion, we are going to go to Advanced and Ungroup to Lines. So now we have the L, the second half of little, the B by itself for babes, and here. But they are all the same size font. And that is why we size it before we ungroup to lines. Very important. So our L we know is gonna fit on our 6 by 12 piece of basswood. Our B is going to fit as well. And then Coffee Co, what I would do, and I'll show you exactly what I would do to that later, but we also know that all of those letters will fit somehow on there as well. So the next part is we have to figure out how to fit little babes on here. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to separate your words. Now, this one in particular, I actually could fit these if I rotated this 90 degrees. These will fit on this 6 by 12 piece of basswood. But if you run into an issue where it doesn't fit on the 6 by 12, I want to show you how you need to separate your lettering. So, and this is why it is very, very important for you to have a thicker font. So I'm going to zoom in, and we can see that probably need to separate this between the T and the L, but like I don't want this part of the L out by itself. I want the L and the E to be attached together, but I also want to slice it in a thicker area of the font. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this just a little bit, bring it over, and here you can see that if I slice this here, the L and the E will stay together, right? And then the ITT over here, plus a little bit of the L, will also be together. So before I slice it, I'm going to duplicate this rectangle over here, and then I'm going to select both of these and slice, okay? So we need to get rid of that, and then this is over here. So what's gonna happen is when the basswood is cut, it's going to cut this, and then it's going to cut this as well. And then we can come back in and wood glue these back together. Okay, so that is why it is important for you to choose a thicker font. Now, like I said earlier, I could very easily take the easy route with this, rotate this 90 degrees, and you can see that this half of the word, it actually fits on the 6x12 piece of basswood. So like I said, if your font fits, great, you can do it that way. If it doesn't, this is how you want to slice it, and I'm going to show you how to reattach it later on. So again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it with the babes portion. So I'm just going to fit it here. You can zoom in, have it sliced at an area that is, you know, a pretty decent area to slice at. You never want to slice something like that where you're cutting off this portion of the A or the E. You want to slice at a junction of your text like that, and then come in here and select them both and slice. From there, you can get rid of your other unwanted sections, and you have all of your words separated where they need to be, but can still attach. And here you can see we'll bring the B back in for babes. We'll bring the L back in for little, and you can see it still lines up beautifully. Now, if you do decide to cut a non-script or a non-cursive font like this where none of the letters are touching, my best advice to you is to go ahead and go to advanced. Once you have your sizing correct, and ungroup to letters. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to really move and manipulate your letters around to get the most out of the area that you are working on. Once you have done all of that, you are ready to go to make it. Once you have hit make it, normally you can change your material size. There is not a 12x6 that you can change it to, but we know that we have to fit this within the 6x12 area. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually going to select both of these. I'm gonna move these to mat 2 for the time being because I don't want them on this first mat. And I am going to go back to mat 1. I'm gonna move this one as well to mat 2. And I'm just going to start cutting the letters that I know that I need, which is 2 O's and 2 F's. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I did already cut a good majority of this because it does take so long. But what I did is, for example, this is an O and I also need that O. I'm gonna move those back to the first one. So what I did is I manipulated all of my letters. For example, I moved this F like down. You can do this and make them fit better that way if you want to. But I moved as many things as I could to the mat to cut. So if I needed to cut again, I could go back to 2. And let's say I needed to cut the second half of the ES in the babes. I can move this back to 1 and just make sure that it fits within the 6-inch mark, which you can see here it does. It's all about manipulation of your layers. So we can fit this in here, and let's say if we need to go back, you know, you can grab the ease, whatever, but you are going to cut all of the words. And what I did is I kept moving them back and forth to mat 1. And once I was done cutting, I would move everything here to mat 2 and what I needed to mat 1. So that is just how I worked around that. Because there is not a 6x12 material size, you all can make it work however you want. I'm gonna move this one back to 2 because I do not need to cut it. And then from here, we are going to cut the rest of the sign that we need. So what I'm doing is I'm laying my basswood down on my mat. And before I send it to my machine, I'm going to make sure that I add my painter's tape to make sure it stays down. Now this is some pretty thick painter's tape. I would highly suggest getting the thinner painter's tape. This is just what we have. So I'm just gonna make sure that this gets taped down really well. And then if it is over a little bit on your mat, you can either trim it off or you can fold it over to trim it off. You can just take your True Control knife and run it along the edge of your mat right here, cutting the excess off. But you do want to make sure you tape all the way around, sides and the top and the bottom. Once you have done that and it is taped down really well, what we are going to do over here in our machine, we are going to take our fine point blade out and we're going to go ahead and add in our knife blade because we know that we're going to need our knife blade for this. And then in Design Space, I'm going to hit Continue, Browse Material, and I'm going to search basswood. And we are using the 1.6 millimeter or the 1/16 of an inch thick. We're going to select Done. It is going to prompt you to use your knife blade. And then over here, we're also going to have to move our star wheels all the way over to the side because the star wheels are going to snag on that basswood if they are where it is going to be going through your machine. Once we have done that, we are going to load in our mat and then press the flashing Cricut button. Now, just a reminder, this does have a very long cut time, and we're only cutting 2 O's, 2 F's, and a little period. So keep that in mind. If you have a lot more on your mat to cut, it is going to have quite a long cut time. Currently, we are looking at 13 minutes for that to finish cutting. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and go overhead and let me show you exactly how to place your letters together. So here you can see we have our little babes separated exactly where we sliced it in Design Space, and I'm going to show you exactly how to place these back together so that we can hang them on the wall. First thing you're going to want to do is grab some tape. Now, I'm just going to use painter's tape today because I feel like it's going to give me the best results and just hold it in place. And really, that's all we're looking at this to do is just be a placeholder for us. So I'm just going to lay that down here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my second half of my letters and I'm going to line it up here on the tape so that it fits together. Now, after I've done that, I'm just going to come in with my True Control knife and I'm going to cut the excess of this tape like that. Cut that there and then cut down here. Now, if you want to, you can come back in here and trim this up a lot better. I'm actually gonna be taking this tape off in a little after I glue it anyway, tomorrow, after it completely dries. So it's not that big of a deal. You just want it to hold it together and be able to bend and open up. So once again, I'll show you, and I'll just take a piece of this tape here that I had extra from the top portion. We're gonna do the same thing with the babes. We're gonna lay that down, and then we are going to place the B and the E together, line it up, and then we're just going to cut this excess here. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm actually gonna add some DAP glue on this seam, and our DAP glue is, the lid is glued shut, so I'm gonna take a weeding tool. Y'all know us around here, work smarter, not harder, waste not, want not. So I'm not wasting this DAP glue. I'm just taking it and running it along this seam. And then I'm going to hold it together. Yes, there is some excess glue here, but we're just gonna wipe that off. And this is a fast drying glue, so we don't have to sit and wait. We just have to sit and hold this together, and it will hold. What I love about this glue so much is that it really does hold in about 30 seconds or so. You should be able to let go and then let it finish curing. And you can see it held pretty well already. So we're just gonna let that sit and let that cure some more, and then we can come back in and sand that off. So now we're gonna do the same thing to this bottom portion. Just gonna grab some, run it along here. Now you don't have to use DAP glue. You can use super glue. I have used Gorilla super glue before. That has worked really well. So once again, not with your finger. Do not spread this glue with your finger. Use a paper towel and hold it together for about 30 seconds. Once your glue has dried, you may just want to come back in here with a sanding block and just sand that off, because when we go to add paint, we're definitely going to want this area sanded pretty well. Y'all, what do you think? This is such a fun project, and I love how I can take one big word and slice it up into more digestible pieces and then put it back together so that we can make a beautiful piece of wall art. If you plan on recreating this, drop me in the comments what you plan on doing. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that thumbs up on this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can get notified every time we get crafty. I will see you guys in the next one.